Libra, sit still for a moment because someone has just arrived and I want to describe them to you exactly as I feel them. There is a presence gathering close to you right now, and it is not a stranger. It carries the particular warmth of someone who once belonged to you, someone whose hands you would recognize even in the dark, someone who has already crossed to the other side of this life and yet has not stopped watching over the shape of yours. I feel the temperature in the room change as they come near. This is not the beginning of a lesson. This is the beginning of a message. And here in this quiet corner of Spiritual Light Tarot, I am only the one holding the door open so that message can reach you the way it was always meant to. Let me tell you what this presence feels like before I tell you what they bring. Because the feeling is the first part of the truth. There is nothing sharp about them. There is no shadow trailing behind them, no cold breath at the back of your neck, nothing that asks you to be afraid. What I sense instead is patience. The enormous, unhurried patience of someone who has all the time there ever was and has chosen to spend a portion of it standing beside you. They arrive the way an old relative used to arrive at a doorway, filling it quietly, waiting to be noticed, holding something behind their back that they have been saving for exactly this moment. And what they are holding is not a warning in the frightening sense of that word. When the title above told you that a departed soul comes to warn you, understand that the oldest meaning of a warning is simply this: to make you aware in time, not to scare you, to ready you, to place a hand gently on your shoulder before the good thing arrives so that you do not sleep straight through it. This soul has come to make you aware that something owed to you has begun its long journey back into your hands, and they did not want you to miss its footsteps on the road. I want to open up the idea of what is truly being returned to you, because most people hear the word inheritance and imagine a single envelope, a signature, a stiff piece of paper read aloud in a formal room. But inheritance is a far wider river than that. You inherit the color of someone's courage. You inherit the way a grandmother pressed coins into your palm and folded your fingers over them. You inherit a stubbornness that refuses to let your family sink. And you inherit, whether you have counted it or not, the accumulated labor of every person who came before you and worked so that you might one day stand where you are standing. What is arriving for you now draws from all of that, not from paper alone. Consider for a moment what money actually is. Underneath the numbers and the worry, money is stored effort. Every bill that has ever passed through your hands is a small monument to somebody's hours, somebody's sweat, somebody's early mornings and aching backs. The abundance moving towards you now is made of exactly this substance, and it carries the fingerprints of those who loved you long before you could earn a thing on your own. The presence beside you understands money in this deeper way, and they want you to understand it too, because the moment you stop seeing your resources as cold and start seeing them as inherited warmth, something loosens in you that has been clenched for years. And I do feel that loosening beginning. There is a knot I can sense around the whole region of your finances, a tightness that has lived in you so long you may have mistaken it for your own personality. It sits in the way you check a total twice before you let yourself breathe. It lives in the flicker of dread that used to visit you before you even opened a bill. That knot is being untied right now, thread by thread, by hands more skilled and more tender than your own, and the strange relief of it is that you did not have to figure out the knot to have it undone. Here is a truth this soul wants pressed firmly into your understanding. Much of the scarcity you have carried was never originally yours. You were handed a fear of lack the way children are handed heirlooms, without ever being asked whether they wanted them. Somewhere back along your line, a person learned that there would not be enough, learned it in a season so hard it burned itself into them, and they passed that lesson down as a form of protection. It traveled through the generations and landed in you, and you have been guarding an empty room out of loyalty to people who only wanted you to survive. The one who stands beside you now has come, in part, to lift that particular weight off your shoulders. because they can finally see it clearly from where they are. From the other side, the pattern is visible the way a whole valley is visible from the top of a mountain. They can trace the exact path the fear traveled to reach you, and they want you to know that you have permission to set it down. You are allowed to stop protecting a wound that was never yours. You are allowed to be the first in your line to believe there is enough and to be right about it. Now let me speak carefully about the mourning that the title names, because I do not want you to brace for grief in the ordinary sense. The mourning being described to you is a tender and beautiful one. It is the mourning you will feel for the version of yourself who went without. There is a self inside you who counted every coin, who said no to small joys, who wore worry like a coat in every season. That self is about to be laid gently to rest. And yes, you may find yourself grieving them because they fought so hard and asked for so little, and they deserve to be honored before they go. Honor that self now, if you can. Picture the one inside you who stretched a small amount across a long month, who made something from almost nothing, who kept the household breathing on willpower alone. That person was not weak. That person was a quiet marvel of endurance. And the presence beside you is bowing to them right now. The way you bow to a soldier coming home from a long campaign because their watch is ending and they are permitted at last to rest. What replaces that vigilant self is not carelessness. It is trust. And I can feel a door reopening that had been shut so long you had stopped rattling its handle. There is a particular channel of provision in your life that closed at some point, perhaps quietly, perhaps after a disappointment that taught you not to hope in that direction again. The soul near you is placing a hand flat against that door, and it is swinging open once more, and light is coming through the gap in a way you have not felt in a very long while. Pay attention to the unexpected, because that is the terrain where this abundance likes to travel. What is arriving for you rarely comes down the road you have been staring at. It tends to slip in through a side path you were not guarding, an opportunity that seems minor at first glance, a conversation that turns unexpectedly generous, a thing you had written off as finished that suddenly stirs back to life. The presence beside you is smiling at this because they know how often you have exhausted yourself watching the front gate while the gift was already climbing over the garden wall. You will notice something curious as this shift takes hold. You will begin to feel found by money rather than perpetually chasing it. For so long you have run toward provision the way a person runs after a bus that keeps pulling away, breath ragged, always a step behind. That exhausting posture is being reversed. Instead of you pursuing, things will begin to arrive at you, to seek you out, to find your address on their own. The soul standing near wants you to feel the deep rest in that reversal, the way your whole body softens when you no longer have to sprint. You may wonder why this is reaching you now and not in one of the harder seasons behind you, when the need felt sharper and the nights felt longer. The answer is a tender one. You were not ready then, and not because you were unworthy, but because a gift given too early can wound the very one who receives it. Had abundance arrived in the depth of your old fear, you might have clutched it in a panic or spent it in dread or given it all away to quiet an anxiety that would only have returned by morning. You needed to become a vessel that could hold water without cracking under the weight of it. And you have become exactly that, quietly, through everything you endured. The seasons you resented most were the ones shaping your hands into something strong enough to carry what is coming. The timing was never a punishment. It was a preparation, and it is finally complete. There is something specific I am being shown, and I will describe it as plainly as it arrives in me. Somewhere, a matter concerning what you are owed is being looked at again, reconsidered, weighed a second time by hands that are not your own. A number someone assumed was settled is being revisited, and the revisiting leans in your favor. Perhaps it is something that was once denied and is quietly being reopened. Perhaps it is a share you assumed had passed you by, a fairness you stopped expecting, a portion you released too soon. The presence beside you is nodding at this because they have been tilting that scale toward you from where they stand. Do not be surprised if a door you had considered permanently closed swings back open with your name still written across it. And look more closely at what you already possess, because provision does not always arrive from somewhere far away. Sometimes it has been sitting inside your own home the entire time, waiting only to be recognized. There may be something in your keeping whose worth you have badly underestimated, something set aside and half forgotten, something you would part with cheaply that is worth a great deal more than you have ever guessed. The soul near you keeps turning my attention back toward a thing already in your hands. Do not stare so hard at the horizon that you miss the treasure resting at your feet. Turn around and look at what is already yours with fresh and honest eyes, because a real part of your blessing has been waiting patiently at home for you to notice it. Let me name the real block honestly, though, because the presence beside you is nothing if not honest with those they love. The trouble for you has rarely been the earning. You have proven over and over that you can labor and produce and provide. The trouble has been the receiving. There is a difference between a person who can pour and a person who can be poured into, and somewhere along the way you became magnificent at giving and clumsy at accepting. When good arrives, you flinch. You deflect. You wonder what it will cost you. That flinch is the last lock on the last door, and it is the one this soul most wants to help you open. Notice what gratitude does to the whole current of this, because it is not a decoration laid over the process. It is the engine at the center of it. When you give thanks for a thing before it has fully arrived, you widen the channel through which it travels. Gratitude is the posture of a person who already trusts, and trust is the exact condition under which abundance moves most freely. The one beside you is not asking you to pretend a feeling you do not have, only to lean toward thankfulness the way a plant leans toward a window. Thank the coins already in your keeping. Thank the roof over you, the small mercies, the near misses that could so easily have gone worse. Every thanks you offer clears another inch of the pipe, and the water moves faster for it. There is one more thing quietly clogging that channel, and I name it with gentleness because it is common and human and nothing to be ashamed of. Somewhere in you, there may live a low, private resentment toward those who seem to have more, who never had to count, who move through the world without the weight you carried on your back. That resentment can feel like justice, but it works like a kink in a garden hose. It is very hard to receive from a river you secretly resent. The soul beside you invites you to release that particular ache, not for the sake of anyone who wronged you, but purely to unblock your own supply. Let others have had their ease. Yours is arriving now, and it will flow more freely the instant you loosen your grip on the grudge. And forgive yourself too, for the choices about money that did not go the way you had hoped. There may be a decision you have replayed 100 times in the dark, a chance you feel you squandered, a risk that did not reward you, a kindness that was never returned. You have been paying interest on that regret for years, and the presence beside you wants the account finally closed. You did the best you could with the understanding you had at the time, and no one does better than that. Self-blame is not a virtue, and it is not a payment that settles anything. It is only one more lock on the same door. Set down the ledger of your own mistakes and feel how much lighter your open hands become the moment you are no longer carrying it. So I want to show you a small gesture that carries a large meaning. Imagine, right now, opening your hands, not clenching them around what little you have, not holding them out to beg, but simply opening them, palms turned upward, the way you would hold them if someone were about to place something precious there and you wanted to be ready. That single posture rewires everything. It tells the universe, and it tells the one standing beside you, that you have decided to stop guarding an empty room and started preparing a welcome. Hold that openness. It matters more than any strategy. This is the heart of what Spiritual Light Tarot came near to say to you today, and I want you to feel how personal it is. You are not being asked to become someone new to deserve abundance. You are being asked to become soft enough to catch it. The one who has crossed over is not disappointed in the person you have been. They are proud of you, achingly proud. And their message is not correction, but invitation. Come and receive. Come and be filled. You have carried others long enough. Let me be precise about the texture of what is arriving, because I do not want your imagination to run only toward wild fantasies that leave you disappointed by anything ordinary. What I feel coming toward you is not primarily a single dazzling windfall, though I will not rule such a thing out. What I feel, more steadily and more reliably, is solvency, breathing room. The particular and underrated luxury of a month that ends with something left over. The shift from surviving to steadying. That may sound quieter than a fortune, but anyone who has lived without it knows it is worth more than gold. There is a weight I can feel beginning to lift, and it has to do with something you have owed or something that has pressed down on you like a hand between the shoulder blades. I do not sense this burden vanishing in an instant, but I sense it lightening, growing more manageable, becoming a thing you can carry upright instead of hunched. The relief of that is difficult to describe to someone who has never felt it, but you will know it the moment it begins, because you will notice yourself standing taller without deciding to. And there is a dignity in what is coming that I want to make sure you do not overlook. Enough is not a small thing. Enough is a kind of sovereignty. When a person no longer has to calculate every gesture of generosity, no longer has to decline invitations out of quiet shame, no longer has to perform a smile while the arithmetic runs frantic behind their eyes, that person is restored to their full height. The abundance moving towards you is not only in your accounts, it is in your posture, your voice, the way you will soon be able to say yes to things without a shadow crossing your face. There is a particular kind of rest that only security can buy, and I want you to feel it moving toward your body as much as toward your accounts. Think of the way your shoulders have lived up somewhere near your ears, the way your jaw has quietly clenched at the sight of certain envelopes, the way a part of you has stayed braced even in sleep, always half ready to solve a problem that never fully let you go. That bracing is about to ease. When the ground beneath your provision feels solid at last, the deepest part of you finally believes it is allowed to soften. The presence beside you longs to watch you unclench, to watch you sleep an entire night through without the arithmetic running behind your eyes, to see the long tension leave a frame that has carried far more than its fair share for far too long. I want to tell you how much of this will arrive through people, because provision loves to travel by way of human hands. Someone is going to remember you. Someone is going to settle a thing that has been unsettled between you for a long time. Someone in a position to open a door is going to think of your name at exactly the right moment, and they will not fully understand why they thought of you, but the soul beside you understands, because they have been whispering your name across the veil into the ears of the living. Be gracious when it comes. Let people be the river the blessing flows through. Let me tell you more about the one who has come, because I feel the shape of their character more clearly now. This is an elder energy, seasoned and steady, someone who understood the true weight of a hard-earned coin, someone whose hands knew honest work. I feel a person who was not handed things, who built whatever they built slowly and by their own effort, who knew the exact value of a single day's labor and never confused it with anything cheaper. They are no stranger to struggle, and that is precisely why their message about your abundance carries such quiet authority. They are not promising you something they never understood themselves. They are handing down something they earned, and they want you to receive it without the guilt they may once have carried in their own tired hands. You may find an old phrase rising up in you in the days that follow. Something this person used to say, a small saying they repeated about getting by, or making do, or the way things have of working themselves out in the end. If such a phrase surfaces, do not brush it aside as ordinary memory. It is a signature. It is the way they let you know the message is truly theirs and not a thing your longing invented. Listen for their particular voice inside the plainest moments of your ordinary hours, and when you hear it rise, understand that you are being reassured across a distance that only love has ever managed to cross. There is something the departed want you to understand about the purpose of all this, and it changes the whole meaning of receiving it. Money that only pools and stagnates begins to rot the spirit of the one who hoards it. But money that moves, that circulates, that passes through your open hands on its way to bless others, keeps you clean and keeps you flowing. The abundance arriving for you is not meant to end with you. You are being made into a channel, not a reservoir. And the more freely it moves through you, the more freely it will move toward you. This is the ancient economy the ancestors have always known. There is someone you love whom you have long wished you could help and simply could not. And the ache of that helplessness has weighed on you more heavily than your own lack ever did. That too is about to change. Part of what is coming to you is coming precisely so that it can move through you to reach them. You will be able to ease a burden you have watched from a painful distance, to answer a need you were powerless to meet before now. The presence beside you knows how much that particular ability means to you, far more than any comfort meant for yourself alone, and they have arranged things so that you become, at last, the one who can actually help rather than only the one who lies awake wishing they could. And here is where the truth turns and looks you full in the face. You have the chance right now to become the one who ends the scarcity in your family line. Every lineage has a person who breaks the old spell, who decides that the fear of not enough stops here, who becomes the ancestor that future generations will thank without ever knowing your name. The soul beside you is showing me that you are being invited into that role, not by luck alone, but by choice, by the decision to receive what is offered and to let it change the story your descendants will inherit. Imagine the ones who will come after you, the children not yet born into your line, and imagine them inheriting ease instead of dread. Imagine them learning from the very shape of the household you build, that provision is normal, that safety is possible, that the world can be trusted to hold them. That gift begins in a decision you make in your own quiet heart, in seasons like this one. When you allow abundance to reach you now, you are not only feeding yourself, you are rewriting the emotional weather that a whole future family will grow up inside. Here is something the ancestors understand that our restless world keeps forgetting. Your worth was never meant to be measured by what you produce. You have been taught, perhaps without anyone ever saying it aloud, that you must earn the right to be provided for, that rest must always be justified, that a day without visible output is a day you did not quite deserve to be fed. The presence beside you rejects that idea entirely. You are worthy of provision on the days you accomplish great things, and equally on the days you accomplish nothing at all. The abundance arriving for you is not a wage paid out for good behavior. It is closer to a birthright, and a birthright is not earned by effort. It is simply, at last, claimed by the one it always belonged to. And with that understanding comes the quiet ending of a long habit of comparison. You have measured yourself in weaker moments against the visible wealth of others, against the ease you imagined behind their walls, against a scoreboard that was never accurate to begin with. So much of what looks like abundance from the outside is hollow within, and so much of what looks modest is quietly and deeply rich. The soul beside you asks you to stop keeping score against strangers whose full stories you will never know. Your provision is being cut to fit your particular life, your true needs, your own real peace. Measure it against your own yesterday, and never against anyone else's carefully arranged today. But none of that outer arrival can fully land until an inner permission is granted, and only you can grant it. Somewhere deep in you there may still live a small voice that insists you are not the kind of person good things happen to, that abundance is for others, that you should not get your hopes up. The one who has crossed over is standing directly in front of that voice now, gently, and telling it that it is wrong. You are precisely the kind of person good things happen to. You always were. The door was never locked from the outside. It was only ever waiting for your hand. You may begin to notice small confirmations gathering around you, and I want you to trust them rather than dismiss them. A coin appearing where no coin should be. A total that comes back smaller than you feared. A sum that returns to you from a direction you had forgotten. An echo, a doubling, a small mercy that seems too neat to be chance. These are not accidents. They are the soul beside you, leaving little tokens along your path the way a parent leaves notes for a child, small proofs that they are near and that the larger promise is real. You should know that the reason this presence can reach you at all right now is that something within you has recently softened. There was a time, perhaps not so long ago, when your heart was so armored against disappointment that no message could have found its way through, when hope itself felt too dangerous a thing to hold in your hands. Something has changed in you. A small crack of willingness has opened, a quiet readiness to believe that things might truly turn. That willingness is the exact doorway the departed have been waiting for all this while. You opened it yourself, without perhaps even noticing the moment you did, and through it they have finally been able to reach you with everything they carried across to say. Feel, if you can, the pride radiating from the presence at your side, because it is enormous. They have watched you when you thought no one was watching. They saw you keep going on the nights you wanted to stop. They saw the private acts of strength that no one ever applauded, the times you gave from an empty cup and did not complain. From where they stand, you are not a person who failed to accumulate. You are a person who survived what should have broken them, and they are prouder of that survival than of any fortune you could name. So let me give you a permission that many people wait their whole lives to be given. You are allowed to want more. Wanting more is not greed, and it is not betrayal, and it is not a sign that you are ungrateful for what you have. Desire is simply the soul reaching toward a larger life, and there is nothing shameful in a plant turning toward the sun. The one beside you does not want you shrinking yourself to seem humble. They want you expanding to your full and honest size, wanting what you want out loud, and trusting that the wanting itself is holy. When the first of it arrives, I want to prepare you for a subtle test, and I mean the word test in the kindest possible sense. Your old reflex, honed sharp across the lean years, may be to give it all away at once, to spend it before you can enjoy it, to quiet the strange discomfort of finally having something by emptying your hands as fast as you can manage. Recognize that reflex the moment it rises and let some of the blessings stay. It is not selfish to keep what was freely given to you. A portion of it is meant to remain, to steady you, to build a floor beneath your feet where before there was only air. Generosity is a beautiful thing, but you cannot pour endlessly from a vessel you never allow to fill. So let it fill this time. Let some of it settle and rest with you. And know that the deepest gift folded inside this provision is not the sum of it, but the freedom it quietly hands back to you. Money, when it is finally enough, returns your choices to you one by one. It is the difference between staying somewhere because you have no other option and staying because you truly wish to. Between saying yes out of fear and saying yes out of genuine desire. Soon a moment will arrive that asks something of you. An opening you will need to recognize and step toward. And when it comes, the presence beside you wants you steady enough to answer yes without the old panic making the decision in your place. Your part in all of this is small, but it is real. Stay awake to the door when it opens, and then walk through it like someone who always somehow knew it would. Understand, too, what money is truly for in the deepest reading of it. It is not for status, and it is not for the endless approval of strangers. Money, held rightly, is for safety. It is for rest. It is for the ability to sleep through the night without the ledger running behind your eyes. It is for taking care of the people you love without wincing. When the abundance arrives, let it be for these true things, and it will multiply. Because the universe pours most freely into hands that will use the gift to create more peace in the world. The season that has held you is closing now, and I want you to feel the finality of that in a good and freeing way. The long winter of stretching and scraping and going without is reaching its natural end. Seasons are not permanent, no matter how endless they feel from inside them, and the one that taught you to endure has finished teaching. Its lessons are learned, its purpose is complete, and it is releasing its grip on you finger by finger. And what comes after a long enough winter is not another winter. It is the thaw. Picture what the thaw feels like in a life, because you are walking into it. It is the first month you do not flinch when a total appears. It is the quiet astonishment of realizing you have not counted your coins in a week because you no longer had to. It is generosity that costs you no anxiety, and rest that carries no guilt, and a slow dawning trust that the ground beneath you will hold. This is the ordinary heaven the soul beside you is describing, and it is nearer to you now than it has been in a very long time. And understand that what is turning here is not merely one fortunate moment, but the whole current of your life bending toward provision. A single day of good luck can be spent and forgotten by the next morning, but this is something far steadier than luck. This is a change in the very direction the river itself has chosen to flow. For a long while, the current seemed to run against you, so that every small gain cost you twice its worth in effort, so that standing still already felt like swimming. That current is reversing now. From here onward, you will feel the water beginning to carry you rather than fight you. And the difference between struggling upstream and floating gently down is the whole difference between a life of exhaustion and a life of grace. And some of what arrives will not feel like new fortune at all, but like restoration, like the quiet return of something you had already grieved as lost for good. There are things that were taken from you, or that slipped away in a hard passage, or that you surrendered simply because holding on had begun to cost more than you had left to give. The presence beside you is showing me that not all of it is truly gone. A measure of it is circling back even now, finding its long way home to you along roads you cannot yet see from where you stand. When it returns, you may be caught off guard by the particular ache of it, by the unexpected tears that come with getting back a thing you had trained yourself out of mercy to stop wanting. Let those tears come when they do. They are only the sound of an old wound finally closing over. As this presence prepares to step back from the door, I want to gather everything they came to say into your open hands. And I want to remind you one last time, from all of us here at Spiritual Light Tarot, that you were never as alone in your struggle as you believed. You were watched over. You were accompanied. The provision moving toward you is not random fortune. It is a long-delayed homecoming, arranged in part by someone who loved you and never stopped. And it is arriving because it was always meant to be yours. So carry this with you when you rise from where you are sitting. Keep your hands open. Honor the self who went without, and then let that self rest. Receive what comes to you without flinching, and let it flow through you toward others so that it never grows stale. Become the one who ends the old fear in your family, and become, for the ones who follow, the ancestor of ease. The departed soul beside you bows to you now and steps back and leaves you with a single certainty pressed warm against your heart. What is owed to you is coming home, and you are finally fully ready to receive it.